My name is Beth Popnikolov. I'm the CEO of Venveo. Venveo is a results-focused, customer-obsessed digital marketing agency for building products dealers, distributors, and manufacturers. And we are very proud and honored to be a silver sponsor of LBM Strategies this year. Now, AI has been getting a lot of buzz over the last 18 months, and I have to say, it's one of the greatest surprises of my career to see how quickly our industry is adopting this revolutionary technology. AI isn't just a trend, it's a tool with incredible potential for manufacturers, for dealers, for distributors, and especially when it comes to things like gaining efficiencies, enhancing creativity, freeing up time for meaningful work, and driving smarter decision-making all across all of our teams. In today's panel discussion, we'll hear from some amazing leaders from our industry about how practical AI advances can benefit LBM businesses. From sales to marketing to HR to operations, our experts will cover real-world, people-focused opportunities that AI is already unlocking for companies just like yours. So please join me in welcoming our moderator, Jennifer Castenson. She's the Vice President and Ambassador of Industry Partner Programs for Buildxact. And then our panelists are John Marshall, co-founder of AI Growth Partners, Ben Beachy, Executive Director of Information Technology for Keim Lumber, and Kyle Little, Chief Operations Officer for Sherwood Lumber. And by the way, this introduction was written by ChatGPT. Let's do it.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for sticking around for us. I know it's Friday and a lot of people are headed out. We're going to try to keep the energy up a little bit. And what ChatGPT didn't pull, and just to keep with the theme, I'm a former running back, and I think we've got defensive end, right, Ben?
Sure.
So what we're going to talk about today is AI. So it's probably a mystery to a lot of us, and it continues to be a mystery, and it's evolving so fast that it's probably making everyone's head spin, even if you're involved in it on a day-to-day basis. We'll start off with looking at what is AI. Well, it's anything you experience a computer doing something you thought only a human could do. So that is a very high-level, unsophisticated response to that, but looking at decisions and learning from an experience, communicating text or speech, or recognizing images in photos and videos. So AI is doing that in a number of different capacities, and our panelists here are going to share what they're doing with it in their dealerships. So let's do a poll here. We're going to try to, like I said, keep it a little bit interactive. How many of you have used AI in any capacity? ChatGPT, anything like that? So the majority of you. Fabulous. And how many of you are planning to continue to use it or explore it if you haven't done it yet? Okay. Everybody should have their hands up, or maybe not. Raise your hand if you are objectively opposed to AI or adopting it. You've got one. And he's on staff, Rick. I don't know if you noticed that. So, no questions yet, sorry. Let me get back to, can you put back the panelists? Thank you. So they know who's talking to them. All right, so what we're gonna do now is just kind of a speed round, and we want the audience participation in the speed round as well. The panelists know the rules of engagement here, but basically one word or one phrase answers. True or false? AI is the end-all, be-all of business today. And we'll start here and just go down the line.
It's false. False.
False.
Okay, does anybody in the audience say true? No. Okay. What is the biggest challenge to adopting AI?
Fear.
Change management.
Inertia.
And then the biggest opportunity for AI in our industry?
Transparency and time.
Quality.
Efficiency.
What do you consider the best, most trustworthy resource to learn about AI?
AI.
Groups of peers that you can compare notes with.
I'd say AI and Deloitte, McKinsey,
I'm doing a lot of research on it right now in business.
I think Al Gore invented it, so.
Questionable.
Yeah.
Call them up.
True or false? AI makes us more human.
I'd say true.
Allows us to be more human.
I'd say true. More creative.
Excellent. So we unanimous on a couple of those, so that's good. Okay, Ben, we're going to start with you because you have a really good practical example of how you're using it at Keim. Tell us about your case study of using AI to be more efficient with processing wood and how the impact it's had on your business. And you're also continuing to use it moving forward. So
We are. Yeah, we are. So I don't know if Lance is still here, but as part of the Pocoyo session yesterday, Lance talked about the opportunity, I think he's still exploring it, to use AI for quality assurance in indoor production. We're actually already doing something somewhat similar. We use it in our rough mill. So at Keim Lumber, we produce millions of board feet annually of fine hardwood moldings, trim, other sorts of wood products. And all of that comes through our rough mill. And as part of that process, we're building cut plans to extract defects from the wood. Wood's a natural product, grows with knots and checks and other sorts of things. We need to cut those out before we can sell that product. We used to do that by hand. Everybody used to do that by hand. Many people probably still do. We'd have teams of guys standing by the line looking at both sides of a board, figuring out how to cut that in the best way to minimize waste, maximize production from that. But a couple of years ago, we implemented an AI-driven system that supports us in that. So in a fraction of a second, the AI will take and build a full 3D image of a board, 16 inches wide, 16 feet long, and produce a cut plan for that that's optimized around our production needs. It's not a one-size-fits-all. A cut plan for, say, poplar that we're going to finger joint and paint is going to look very different than a cut plan for walnut that may be turned into stain grade moldings sort of pieces. And it's not just one cut plan either, it's multiple cut plans along with that. So the operator sitting there can flip through a couple of different options and combine the efficiency and the consistency of an AI with the wisdom, the experience, the expertise of a human. And that last piece was really, really important to us as we selected this system. We're not interested in using AI to replace our people or substitute for our people. We want to use AI as an accelerator, as a capacity expander, to help our people do their work better, faster, easier, simpler. It's been really, really successful for us. So successful, in fact, that we can't keep that hybrid system running at capacity. We can't feed it fast enough right now. So actually this week, we started on Wednesday, tearing that equipment apart, and we're reassembling it in a building that's purpose designed for this. And once we're done with that, in a couple of weeks from now, we expect to see a 25% increase in efficiency and throughput. Not with any greater investment in people or in the technology itself. We're adding a few green chains and a little bit of machinery around it. But a 25% increase in capacity and throughput simply by feeding that hybrid system as fast as it really can go.
So how many of you think that's something you can implement? Anyone? Well, I've shared this with a couple of people, but I went to Ben's location in Charm, Ohio.
Charm, Ohio.
And
center of the world.
Yeah, well, center of something. I was pulling in my car next to a horse and carriage, and I mean, if he's implementing some pretty advanced technology in Charm, Ohio, it's pretty amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Ben. Kyle, so Sherwood's using AI in a number of capacities. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing, what you're going to continue to do, and then how you're balancing that with intellectual property concerns.
Yep. So have any of you ever used any AI note takers out there?
I do.
Yep, sure. I use it consistently. So one of the key facts or attributes of that is getting an enormous amount of data recorded so we can go and analyze that for future use. And we've used our AI note taker, particularly for me, just being able to go out there and more efficiently be able to travel and go things and be up to date in what's happening in the business. So, I mean, I know yesterday we have a weekly conference or weekly market call, and Fred, my AI note taker, was on the Teams call, and everybody was obviously joking, don't talk about Kyle, like what have you, and like that. But that meeting, or that AI note taker, provided me a summary of everything that we were talking about, a comprehensive summary of all the market information that our buyers and sellers were talking about, in addition to tasks or follow-ups for me to have with them when I get back. So like just being on top of your business, having an opportunity to get insight in things that are happening when you're not there, that has just been a powerful tool. Earlier this year, we used a service called Gong to go out there and actually help us with our junior sales team, listening to their phone calls, interactions with their customers. It was a great training tool to go out there and understand what was happening on those phone calls, how they handled objections, how they're listening, how they come off. It would measure the sentiment of the call, negative or positive, and it was a tremendous training opportunity for us, and what we believed accelerated their success in their onboarding and training at our organization. And back in the day, 20 years ago, when I was trading Eastern Canadian spruce and Western Canadian spruce, I remember having somebody listen to my calls and having those conversations with whatever buyer or seller that I was working with. This did that in a fraction of that time and did it with a level of no bias, right? Like it provided you real information of what was happening on those calls. Our young team really bought into it. They really saw that. Our legacy team, we tried it a little bit with them. They were a little hesitant because, as veteran salespeople, there's very little things that they don't know. So having them, an AI tool, provide them some insight that they didn't see or identify a blind spot that they didn't know, it was just kind of a little bit scary for them. But over time, we started to see more buy into that with our overall group. And we don't do it every day. It's usually segments of or targets or goals or milestones that we're looking to achieve in any given time. But it's something that we believe will become more of the norm as we move forward. And quite frankly, we see our organization at some point where AI is literally listening to everything that we do, reading every email, listening to all our calls, reading our texts and what have you, and helping us gather as much data as we can to go out there and understand customer preference, mill needs, all of the things that would give us more real-time information to go and attack the market. And just a little background of Sherwood Lumber, we're a wholesale distributor of forest products and building materials, so a little bit different than your retail business. So, our brokerage and trading activity, as well as our distribution needs in maneuvering in a marketplace, it's, highly volatile. We need those things, or we want to be a little bit quicker than our competitors in the marketplace to provide a little bit more of that advantage. So,
and how are you being careful about those intellectual property concerns?
So, it's funny you said that. So I think the idea of the concept of an NDA for us 2 years ago would have been totally foreign to us when talking to a vendor or talking to a customer. Now today, when we're going out there and using any AI tools or any form of negotiation, we want to make sure that we set the tone in regard to that, sorry. And so that intellectual data, as best as we can, we want to kind of control that. So any new AI tool that we have, or any, I should say, tool that we would use on a virtual level, we're trying to make sure that, we are comprehensively understanding what those user agreements are. Us as individuals, we typically on our iPhone or whatever, on any social media, we just kind of scroll through those user agreements on any app that we do. We never read it. We just click it OK because we trust that it's going to be, our data is going to be secure. But as we know, that's not necessarily the case. So in our businesses, we're definitely taking that time and before we implement anything new to understand, what our rights are, what our opportunities are, what we want to share into the marketplace. So then ultimately we can, protect our intellectual property as best as possible.
Yeah, and any other data that you come across
Correct.
that you might be, sharing out. Thank you, Kyle. So John, you're probably working with some of the folks here and consulting and using AI in a number of capacities for different dealers. Where have you seen it have the biggest impact for them? And let's start there.
So a little background, I was formerly president and COO of Wilson Lumber. I retired in December, had no idea I'd be in AI 10 months later, but started a company that helps educate small, mid-sized businesses, LBM businesses on how to utilize it across the company. But the things we're seeing is employee training and support, sales plan development and support tools, strategic decision-making, contract agreement reviews and updates, financial reviews and financial tools, and organizational development and HR tools. So it's really across all departments. It's just not in marketing content. It's not just in sales plans. It's across the entire functions of the business. And I looked at it 10 months ago and went, holy cow, if I'd had this 20 years ago, my career would have been a hell heck of a lot easier. And that's kind of how I got into it and just learned it. It's not hard. I mean, I'm 66. If I can learn it, you guys can learn it. You're a lot younger than me. So, it's been engaging. It's been fun. And again, just really going across the entire spectrum of the business. And there's things it can't do. It's only about 85% correct most of the time. You got to have the experience to be able to look at it to know that's not right, and then I need to correct it. If you depend on 100%, you're getting yourself in trouble. There may come a day where it's okay to trust it more, but right now that's kind of what I'm finding, unless it's really complex, and then the percentage may go down a little bit. But I'm doing things that just floor me, things that would take my CFO all day to do, I can do in 5 minutes. And unlock the black box.
Maybe John as an example. So I know that you were talking about scraping, like if you were looking at acquisitions so could you give the audience maybe an example of how? Yeah,
so I can run or teach anybody to run a customer profile using the person's website. Most people don't have a true company profile. Now Beth will tell you that in the ad agency, they do one for you. They just don't tell you that they have it. But I can go to your website, scrape it. I've got a template for all the information I want about you, your vision statements, your core values, who you call on, what's important. I can have that all downloaded in seconds. And so now a salesperson walks in knowing everything about that business that would take months to do if you were just asking questions. Do that. Got one that does it for builder profiles. I've got one that I can put your company name in and location, and it'll give me every builder within 50 miles. I get a range of how far I want it to look. It'll give me every builder within 50 to 60 miles, and then it'll build a builder profile off a template to tell me everything about that builder that's in public information. Can't get private information, but do public. So just the time savings, we did that at Wilson Lumber several years ago. We have a company profile for every builder or builder profile. It took us weeks to do it. Now we can do it I can do all of them in about an hour. It's scary what it can do.
It's scary good. Yeah.
Very good, yeah.
Okay, good. So now let's just talk about some practical advice. I want you guys to share with the audience. Ben, let's start with how you got started and how you looked at the complexity of it and broke it down for your organization to understand and get buy-in and then start applying.
Yeah. In our case, we started with the need. We didn't start with pursuing AI for its own sake. We started because we had a business need. We needed to expand our capacity in the rough mill. And defecting and the processes around that were a bottleneck for us. We started by asking around in groups and conversations with peers and what are you doing and how are you solving this? We went out and found a partner that we could trust. We knew very quickly that we didn't have the capacity to build this out internally. We're experts in lumber and selling lumber and working with it. We're not experts in AI and building these systems. We were fortunate enough in our case to find a really, really good partner almost in our backyard. But that was essential for us. And then we started hacking around with it. And I don't mean hacking in a bad sense, right? We weren't breaking into somebody's computer systems and stealing data to feed John's AI. We're hacking around in the sense of sort of treating the problem loosely, flexibly, trying stuff, fitting pieces together, seeing what worked. That's a sort of cultural value that we have. I like to think our manufacturing people never leave a good process alone. They're always looking for ways to make it a better process. That's a value that we shared with our implementation partner. But it took time. It wasn't a turnkey sort of thing. We just turned it on and it worked. In fact, we're continuing to tune and train and refine that system. I think because of that, we've gotten to a whole lot better than 85% accuracy. That wouldn't quite work for us. It wouldn't cut it, if you'll excuse the horrible pun. But that tuning, that persistence, that continual effort, AI, for us at least, is like any other technology. It requires time, it requires investment. You've got to train your people to use it. You've got to create that hybrid system that allows people and technology to really perform at a high level.
Did you have any internal resistance when you were trying to adopt it? And then how did you overcome that? And then have you guys been able to replace people with AI, and how did you address that?
I think that's one of the key pieces. We've made it a point not to replace people with AI. That's part of our cultural values. That's part of our commitment to our community. We see ourselves as a business for community, not just a business in community. So it's really important for us that we're taking care of our coworkers. And that's gone a long way to not eliminating. People are going to be anxious about new and uncertain. That's just the nature of being human. But it's gone a long way to alleviating some of that anxiety, that this is not an opportunity to put people out of work. It's not something we're chasing just for the dollars. We're in business to make money, fine, we all are. But it's something that we're really pursuing to allow us to be better humans, to allow us to focus on the things that add value to our lives as people, to eliminate the rote, the routine, the fatiguing work that all of us have to do. But if we can hand that off to a machine that never gets tired and never needs a break, and then that frees us up to do the value adds that only people can bring.
Yeah, so Kyle, when we had our call, our prep call, you were talking about we can do this and we can do that and we can do this and we've thought about this and we've thought about that. So how are you harnessing it so you're not overstretching or overcommitting and making a true strategy out of it?
Yeah, so as was mentioned earlier, there's so many areas in your organization that AI can be a tool to help, build better efficiencies across all segments. One of the first things that we looked at was our core operating of our business. So we made a conscious decision 2 years ago to blow up our ERP and build a new one with the idea to be able to bolt on AI solutions to allow us to perform better as an organization. So we said we're not going to go into an industry focused or industry solution on our ERP. We're going to go with an industry agnostic, build it to ourselves, to our business, and allow us to go out there and use any or follow any route that we felt was a priority in our business at that given time. So we're not there yet. We're not using AI in our ERP. That's implementation 2025, but it is something that we are very conscious about and something that we want to continue to go and build upon. And I touched on it a little bit earlier, having the opportunity to go out there. We have so much data that's coming at us with our customers, with inquiries and the mill offerings and so forth and so forth. And right now that sits in the majority of our traders' notebooks at their desks, right? And what did they hear on that phone or what did they miss in hearing on that phone that they weren't able to go out there and capture? And being able to build that data dump per se, and then ultimately use an AI tool to comb it and build prompt us to go do something next, that's where we see it really, really benefiting us as an organization.
So we've talked a little bit about how to create a strategy and where to start, but you have to also measure so that you can understand its impact, right? And understand how and where you want to continue to prioritize or invest resources in it. So John, how would you recommend to put those metrics in place?
Yeah, so we focus on mostly leadership teams right now to give an overall brand usage, but we're looking at speed of decision making, employee performance, savings on administrative tasks, things that are very repetitive that you do over and over. It can do so much quicker. Financial accuracy, being able to check. Again, I don't want to run my business on AI yet, but it sure helps understanding what the CFO is saying or what somebody else is saying in another department, and be able to research that kind of stuff. Operational efficiency, it can handle tons of data and see trends that we might see looking at those spreadsheets over and over, but it'll pick it up in seconds. And I really look at it as a really good first and second draft to get down the road. The first step is always the hardest. If it'll do the first 85 for you, then it's really, really helpful. And like I said, in what he's doing, you don't want 85%. You're tweaking it, giving it more time context so it can get a lot higher percentage. But we're really focused on just out of the box. How can you use it? Don't do all the fancy tools, all the automation. You'll get there, but start where it's at right now, and it's much simpler. So that's, how can we use it effectively today out of the box?
Would you say you added benefits, checks and balances, or redundancy in your business? Because there's only so many resources of people that you have, right? And doesn't AI provide that solution?
Absolutely. We use it in HR all the time to look at accountability charts, right responsibilities, tasks, job descriptions. So we're looking for redundancies in all aspects of the business, not just, I did turnarounds for 40 years. That's all you do in turnarounds is look for redundancies. So yeah, we're looking for it and using it for that for sure.
So John, where do you continue to get information on future advances, and how are you setting up to evolve with those changes?
So you heard the term scraping. That's just going out on the internet and asking. I have a program that'll go in and give me all the information on LBM, it's AI related, for every week. So I keep up with it that way. I mentioned Deloitte and McKinsey are doing a lot of small, mid-sized business reviews on how AI is being implemented, its adoption rates and those type of things. I'm looking for articles, blogs on it. That's how I'm keeping up, with the business. And then I'm in it every day, so that that helps too.
Yeah, I just read and shared an article about Amazon, which I think, they're probably going to set some standards for us to continue to look at, especially in warehouse management and space efficiency, where they're already experiencing a 40% increase in efficiency in space, but with AI-driven robotics. Ben, how about you? Where are you getting your information, and where would you recommend people start keeping a pulse on it?
Sure. I echo a lot of what was already said in terms of the industry, the resources, those sorts of pieces. Easy to get the information. I think the biggest encouragement I'd offer is to start playing around with it. That first step, again, just as in creating documents, the first step is often the hardest step. This is the time, this is the space to begin playing around with some of these technologies. You're not going to be an expert at it out of the gate. None of us are, none of us were. This is the opportunity to begin building that capacity, stretching that muscle, so that in a year or 2 or 5, when the real magic solution emerges and comes down to a point where those of us who are not the Amazons and the Microsofts and the billion-dollar industries of the world, where we can afford it and implement it, when that moment arrives, you're prepared to take advantage of it because you've already built the groundwork. You've already developed the familiarity, the comfort with it. You've built mind share within your organization.
Anything to add to that, Kyle?
I don't think I have a lot to add, but I would say, I've always wanted a great assistant, and AI is and so AI has provided that for me. So I can tell you from a planning perspective and trying to go out there and do things and just organize things and keep me abreast of what's happening at home, let alone business. AI has been a great solution to kind of bridge the gap there and keep my home life working as well. Essentially not getting my wife so frustrated that I don't know anything that's going on.
All right, thank you so much, you guys, for your attention today. Thank you, Ben, John, and Kyle.